Welcome, everybody, to the first edition of the 2023 Party Like a Writer Half-World Tour / Blackjack Kerouac Literary Magical Mystery Tour. My name's Raymond Quinton, and I am your host. And this is a rather unusual program in that it involves a 6,000-mile van tour across America. It also involves a trip to Japan, and finally a trip to San Francisco to culminate to end the year. A total of around 18 to 20,000 miles. And you might be asking, well, why? Why are you doing this? Well, let's just, start from the beginning. As I said, my name's Raymond Quinton, and I am a author, publisher, writer, musician, thinker, scholar, academician, and commercial bus driver. Bus and truck driver. Let me just qualify that. I do both. I'm a commercial licensed driver, and I am 64 years old, and I am not going to say that I'm rounding the corner of the end of my career. What I will say is that every day is a new beginning. Every day is a new chance to do something new, to do something exciting, to test the waters, to push the limits on creativity. And I was just reading the New York Times just the other day, and they were talking about an avant-garde artist. Now, the unique situation here is that I'm also black, as you can probably tell. I am a member of that black and brown community. I'm also a first-generation American. My mother is Jamaican, and my father is from the Caribbean. And although the Virgin Islands as a U.S. territory, it's still a separate country. And he grew up in Puerto Rico, spoke fluent Spanish, so we come from a bilingual, multicultural household. And for some reason or the other, we ended up in Kansas, and that's where I was born. That's where I grew up before a 4 to 5 year stint in France, Chinon, France, as a child. I'm from a family of total of 12 siblings. Number 8 son, number 11 child. And so all of those things, along with being a thinker and a genius, and yes, I'm not afraid to say that, I have spent my entire career breaking all of the rules. And that includes a stint as a minor celebrity in San Francisco. So this Party Like a Writer tour at age 64 is a chance for me to continue to break the rules, to continue to be, now that I have read this article in the New York Times, to the letter, an avant-garde artist, but also I've had a very sort of traditional career as a publisher, as a writer, as an editor, as an author. I've written 12 books. I have founded and published 10 or so newspapers and magazines, including being the founder, executive editor of the corporation that founded and ran the Bay City Guide and among other publications in San Francisco. So while in Silicon Valley there was a sort of tech revolution, and with the advent of the Mac, the Macintosh, there was also a publishing revolution in San Francisco, and I would be considered one of those tech publishing revolutionaries in San Francisco. So this tour was one of my harebrained crazy ideas to do, including coming up with a name, to buy a piece of crap van, drive 6,000 miles from Portland, Oregon to Janksomville, Florida, talking about things that are passionate to me along the way, And those things include art, creativity, race, class, culture, and then sort of examining the place of immigrants and black people in America. And again, just sort of my intellectual diatribes all along the way. And so I did the tour, finally did the tour. And the driving tour was the first part. The little over 2 weeks in Japan was the second part, and the third part for this year, for this half-world tour, was San Francisco, of course, which is like a second home to me. Now, before I took this tour, I purchased maybe 100 or so books of all of my books. So the goal was to be like a literary Johnny Appleseed and give books away along the way, and then also to do one main event in Lawrence, Kansas, at the historic Pacific Union rail station. And I did it with the help of my sister. Again, the idea was to visit family all along the way, and visit friends, and to do my video logs, and to talk about the landscape and the people, and then race, class, and culture all along the way. So it's kind of an amazing piece of work, and sort of piece it together in my little avant-garde 30-minute videos. So this event in Lawrence took off. I mean, it went off without a hitch, and so there is an hour-long Party Like a Writer official event, and it was great because when you actually get to experience this, and I don't know which episode it's going to be, you'll because I will embellish, right? I'll add crowds, I'll add sound effects, I'll add all kinds of fun stuff, but my two favorite people were there in all the world: my sister Monique, my best friend Cindy Griffiths, who I met when I was around 18 years old at Fort Hays State University in Kansas. And they both assisted in the production. And then I took it from there and then headed off to Janksomville. So it's kind of an amazing, interesting series. There will be around 52, because there's a lot of video footage, and there's a lot of ideas, and there's a lot of thinking. And then politically and intellectually, there's a lot to think about. There's a lot to process in this day and age. And then because I have a degree in journalism and mass communication, and I have been a journalist and a publisher all of my career, I am very frustrated and very disappointed in what I saw. What is coming true today is actually what is unfolding today is what I saw as a young journalist back in the 80s and 90s. What is unfolding now, the unraveling of the media, is what I saw back then, and I have been fighting against. And again, as a person of color, as an African American, it's a relatively white industry, and so what I have to say probably doesn't matter that much. And who knows? There may be someone of import that might see this series and say, you know what, we need to change our ways today in order for journalism to survive. Because I saw back in 1981 when I graduated that it was a dying industry then, and I did what I could to try to resuscitate it, but it was on life support in 1981, and today. And again, it's been a long time, so it's only deteriorated from there. So, but I have some ideas about what can be done, what can change, how we can revive the industry. But for the most part, this tour is all about me as a black intellectual genius, artist, creative person, musician, and about my life, and about my ideas, and about my tour, and about my family, and about my friends. And again, the curious thing, and what I like to explore, is that sort of that intersection between race, class, and culture, and art, and the avant-garde, and then of course occupying my own little creative corner and trying to create, process, understand, bring people in, move people forward, contribute to society, make the world a better place, but also not ignoring it as a complex, interesting, fascinating place. And then, of course, it's all about the music, baby. So I'll have help from friends and guests, and I have my own little entourage. You gotta have an entourage. But what's great about that is I can create my own entourage. And so, even though I've had my brush with fame, which I'll talk about it, this series was created by, conceived by myself, but the stars are the people, the family, the friends, the landscape, the ideas, and the future and the hope for America. Being a first-generation American, I think that's pretty cool. So I'll do these intros at the beginning, and then I'll do a brief exit at the end, and then I'll introduce the music that we produce here. My radio station is Neighborhood News Radio. You'll find us at nnrpdx.com if you want to comment or participate. nnrpdx.com. We've been broadcasting 24/7, doing podcasts, creating music ever since March 2020, the beginning of the pandemic. And there's a treasure trove of things to listen to, things to think about, things to talk about. But as I said, I am happy to occupy this little corner, creative corner of the universe, because I've been famous. And I'm going to tell you right now, being famous, I do not recommend it. It's not all that it's cracked up to be. And I talk a little bit about this in my Party Like a Writer events. So anyway, I'm going to check out now. Now, the intro for this first video, again, it's live on YouTube. I'm going to have to get my handle and publish it on the video. But Raymond Quinton, you can find it, Raymond Quinton YouTube. But there's things to see. These are avant-garde videos, so I'm kind of playing. I'm not a real documentarian. I play with the technology. I use the technology to achieve my goals. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I have to be perfect at it, that I have to master it. I use technology as a means to communicate ideas and, of course, have a lot of fun. So, there's things to read. The intro is basically me getting ready for my tour, filming myself in the mirror, and then it starts out with my narration heading to my van, August 6th, 2023, and then the story unfolds from there. So anyway, I'm going to disappear now, but enjoy. This is episode number 1, Party Like a Writer Half-World Tour. I'm Raymond Quinton, and you can find my books, and you can find my website. You can find I'm easy to find. So this is Raymond Quinton. Check it out. In the morning, August 6th, and this is the beginning of the Party Like a Writer 2023 summer tour. I packed for 2 weeks basically. Almost seems like I've got everything I own in there, but that's only a fraction of the crap that I own. But anyway, there's stuff for the readings, there's my computers, and then of course, I have to document everything in case the van gets stolen and I need to file a claim. So, most importantly, I have my colon cleanse, because you're going to need that for long trips, especially especially if you're going to be eating a lot of crap food. So a lot of people don't tell their families about that when they go and visit. But I've got my psyllium husks, and that'll keep me regular. So this is Pockvy, my 2006 $300 rescue van. And there's the house. It's all dark. Claudia's sleeping. I'll go say goodbye. And then I'm on my way to Cheyenne, Wyoming. I'll be doing some video logs along the way. There's a little chunk of moon up there. And this is our garden. And I'll be back in 2 weeks. So the last entry will be me coming back. So there's the van. And 3,000 miles. That's how many miles we're going. And we'll be writing, singing, and talking all along the way. Alright, here we go. Okay, here's the, I always like that when they do sound effects. I always like the sound of the gravel. That's why I'm totally loving the radio stuff, because you can do the sound effects and you get right up to the, and then you gotta open it. Okay. Oh, shoot. I already started it, so we're gonna start it. Okay. There's that sound. The keys are in. And then, yeah. Now, I got a lot of gear and stuff. So, there's, I've got like a state-of-the-art garden. I found this at a secondhand store. It's an alarm clock. Lights, USB, Bluetooth, stereo down there. Basically I've got everything you could ever want, in a modern car packed into this old van. I got power supplies, I got solar lighting, so, it's pretty freaking cool. So, first destination, select car. Okay, Garmin, find Cheyenne, Wyoming. Alright, sometimes you see it's plugged into an inverter down here, but it slips out. So I have to probably put something there. Maybe put the speaker there to keep it from slipping out. Oh, see, it just fell out. Okay, alright. So let's plug it back in into the inverter that is running off of the spare battery that is down there. Alright. So as long as that light stays on, we're okay, but I'm probably going to have to tape it because my other outlets, they kind of go off and on. So there's a lot of little quirks with this van, but otherwise it runs pretty good. So let's get, and there's I replaced the headlights, and they're kind of off, so I'm gonna have to adjust them during the trip because I'm a lousy mechanic. Okay, so then, okay, Garmin, find Cheyenne, Wyoming. Okay, I finally got my Garmin up and running. As you can see, it's pretty freaking cool. 465 miles till somewhere. Maybe Pendleton. Not sure. But it's daylight now. I've been driving for almost 3 hours, and this is the drive along the Columbia River Gorge. Years ago, you hardly saw any windmills. There's tons and tons of windmills, but this is a pretty spectacular drive, so I'm not going to do any video logs or anything like that along this. I'm just going to enjoy the drive. Cheyenne is about 10 hours away. Estimated arrival time 10:49 tonight. So I may get pretty close. I just don't like driving at night, And so if I get pretty close, that's pretty good, because then it's only like a few hours to Lawrence, Kansas from there. So anyway, driving along, it's a beautiful drive. Truck is driving just fine. I did make a stop, had McDonald's and got some other crap. I got a egg McMuffin or something like that, so I'm feeling kind of nauseous from that. But otherwise, feeling good. So this will be my last entry probably for a while until we get closer to Cheyenne, or I might wait until we get to Cheyenne to do my first video log and audio recording. Otherwise, all's well. That's a beautiful sunrise there. Okay, it is day 2 of my little adventure, my Party Like a Writer, Blackjack Kerouac half-world tour. I drove about 16 hours. Here, let me just turn this around here. Let me tell you where I'm at. So I spent the night in Evanston, Wyoming. So I started at 5 a.m. I finished about 10 p.m. I don't know how many hours it is. A lot of hours. So I was exhausted. Grabbed some food. I stayed at the Best Western there in Evanston. It was a really nice place. And then had a fabulous breakfast there too. And then beat feet, out onto. I decided to go to the Nebraska route to get to Lawrence. Let me just turn this around here so you can see me. If you flip the viewer, which is pretty cool. Sorry about that. Then I can see myself. I can center, the image, and then, I can drive at the same time. Okay, so I'm going to be steering, and, oops. Oh, I zoomed in. That was kind of cool. So there's not much of a cell signal out here, so I can't listen to my usual talk shows. Stephen Miller, Tom Hartman, Hal Sparks, Legal AF, Midas Touch, Michael Cohen, all the talk shows and radio shows that, I get, I think, good political information from. Some of them are just kind of funny too. So now is a good time to just kind of talk a little bit about, what my thoughts are. I'm going to do some video logs. I'm also going to do some audio logs. Now, just to talk about what the significance of the title, the Blackjack Kerouac, driving tour. As many of you know, I am classically trained. So I have a degree in journalism and mass communications, and part of that education including the study of the classics, as well as the study, we take a lot of English courses, including Great American Literature and poetry classes. And so, I'm slightly familiar with Jack Kerouac, Allen Ginsburg. They were sort of, and of course Ken Kesey, Once There Was the Coco's Nest, all these sort of, mythological, literary, poetry figures. And now, while I know there were some African Americans, some black people in their orbit, and I hope to learn a little bit more about that. But I also, consider, again, those kinds of tours, those kinds of, sort of artistic and literary and intellectual endeavors in America being a very privileged experience. I mean, that's, tune out, drop out. That whole concept was really targeted at, white people, not at black people. Black people were not able to drive around, hobos or whatever, and, get away with that because they get locked up or shot or killed or beat So what I want to do with that concept is sort of build a bridge, between that and, sort of my personal experience. So it's a bridge between my personal literary experience and a bridge between, sort of that experience. So what I want to do is, and I'll do that probably in a couple of days when I get a moment, is to kind of revisit the book On the Road. See if I can, sort of glean some satirical subject matter as well as, sort of share some of my perspectives on it. And then, of course, I went to San Francisco and really fascinated, sort of with the whole beat poet thing. But I want to try and tie it into sort of the Black African American or just Black American experience because, there's Black Africans, there's Jamaicans like my family, there's Caribbeans, there's, Blacks, people from South America, from Brazil, from Haiti. And during that time, what was happening during that time, where people were so, I believe, kind of enamored on the literary scale, with Ken Kesey and Jack Kerouac and, a bunch of others. So again, I'll do a little homework and then kind of revisit that. So this is a video log, just sort of establishing where I'm at, where I'm going. I am heading to Lawrence to see my old friend Cindy Griffiths, as well as tomorrow morning I'll have breakfast with my old friend Kevin Wilmot. Everybody knows Kevin Wilmot, who was the writer, won an Oscar for Black Klansman. He and I have been friends since we were about like 12, 13 in Junction City, Kansas. So, and then of course to see my 97-year-old mom. And I am going to have a party like a writer, sort of private, small event that I am going to film and use portions of that for this, video log. And then it's kind of a publishing party prototype for events that I would like to do around the country at some point. So this is like the Half World Tour. And then of course I'd also like to do these events in Europe as well too. And we'll talk a little bit more about, sort of the theme for that. But I think, again, the Black Jack Kerouac concept is part of that. I'm trying to sort of build a bridge between, sort of that bold, sort of intellectual, literary, stepping out. People, again, creative people in general coming out of themselves and fearlessly going out and putting on events and talking about themselves and sharing their work and then bringing other people in. Or not only bringing those people in and uplifting them, but helping to move, them forward and yourself forward. And then, of course, conceptually being able to do that at any age. I'm 64 right now. I should be obsessed with the idea of retiring, leading a comfortable life. At least that is, sort of a common concept. That's a common thought. When you get to be around 64, there are a lot of people who are able to retire. There are a lot of people who are in a position financially, to do whatever they want to do. Then there's a lot of people who are not, and that's just your average everyday person, creative people, people from all walks of life and ethnicities, cultures, and I want to talk about that. What is retirement? What is that? Is that, can the majority of people relate to that concept? So anyway, there's some scenery coming up. Going into a tunnel here. I'm still in Wyoming. Then I do want to talk a little bit about, sort of my concepts, of sort of that big country, big sky, big America. But let me get settled here and, sort of check in where I'm at, speed limits, things of that nature. It is quite beautiful. This stretch. didn't want to go through Kansas because it's so boring. Kansas is not much different, but this part of Wyoming is pretty spectacular. So, I'm just going to take in some views, and I'll probably do an audio. I want to test sort of audio, my audio equipment, and then I'll come back and do another video log. So, again, it is August 7th, 2023. This is video log number 1.
Follow you? Oh, well, I did. I followed you.
Oh, you can?
Okay.
If you're okay with that.
I'm fine.
All right, so, then I'll... This is the area that are coming. Okay, we are doing a mic check, camera check, and my sister Monique is on the video camera. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. All right. As Matthew McConaughey said, thanks everybody for spending a little time with me listening to this series. It's one of a kind, and I appreciate you spending a little time. This first episode kind of unfolded the way a first episode would. It's trying to get out of town. My Garmin wasn't working the way it was supposed to be working, but I finally got it working. And basically, starting out on a tour, as all of you have taken trips with your family when you were kids, taken road trips with your friends in college, traveled. There's nothing quite like a road trip and like that first day and the anticipation. So it was a little bit like that. It was dark, and I sort of threw all my crap in my van. It was all piled in there. It was kind of a mess. And so I kind of organized things along the way. So I finally got underway, got to Wyoming, and of course I discovered that, once again, I rediscovered that driving is slow, and you can only go so far. And I will say, too, that I told my wife that I was going to be driving, that this tour was like 3,000 miles. And, of course, I forgot. I was only thinking, like, to Kansas, which is 1,500 miles, and then to Janksomville is another 1,500 miles. So that's like 3,000 miles. So it was like 6,000 miles, right? So even in my head, because, the artist's brain is a very curious, kind of convoluted place. So anyway, we're going to take you out with a kick-ass song that was produced by yours truly, and conceived and produced, written by Raymond F. Quinton. It's called The Red Chip Funk. We're not going to play the whole song. We're going to introduce pieces of it along the way. It's called The Red Chip Funk, and it's dedicated to all of you out there who do not have the red chip. It's a song of hope, a song of funk, a song to let you know that you are alive, but also to just sort of alert you of the perils of influence, the perils of being brainwashed, the perils of being convinced that what you know is not what you really know, that a fact is not a fact, that truth is not the truth. So this is 20-something DJ Franklin, one of our cohortee here, and I'm going to play a few minutes of it, but we'll play a little bit more throughout this series, and you can listen to the entire song on Apple. You can download it on Apple. 20-something DJ Franklin is one of our superstars here. It's on Apple Music. It's on Spotify. It's on iHeart. Everywhere music is streamed, you will find Red Chip Funk. So thanks everybody once again. And this is Raymond Quinton, nnrpdx.com, episode number 1, Party Like a Writer, Half World Tour / Blackjack Kerouac Magical Mystery Literary Tour 2023. Signing out. I'll see you in episode number 2. You got the red chip. You on crazy shit. Down, round, downtown. When you look around, you'll see everybody turning black and brown. You'll start questioning what's a fact, Jack, unless someone tells you the earth is flat. But I want to spread the news. Yeah, man, there's even hope for you. You just got to get up and dance, and maybe read some books by Malcolm X. Red chips exploded all over the world. People went back to caring about each other, and that was a relief for my 96-year-old mother. And they stopped caring about conspiracy lies, and they actually believed their own lying eyes. A few years later, I thought I dodged a bullet, and I thought I could get back to my life. I would binge watching Squid Game, sometimes playing Scrabble with my wife. I was reading and writing for my intellectual fact-based book. Then my wife gave me some kind of crazy look. Her face twisted up into apoplectic spasms and contortions. She started to scream and cry and yelled, "Everybody in Portland's getting abortions." She said, "Oh, I also noticed that you're black, and I'm having a real problem with that." And gave me a blank stare and said, "Fact is not a fact." If you got the red chip, you're on crazy ship. Down, round, downtown. When you look around, you'll see everybody turning black and brown. You'll start questioning what's a fact, Jack, unless someone tells you the earth is flat. But I want to spread the news. Yeah, man, there's even hope for you. You just got to get up and dance, and maybe read some books by Malcolm X.